GoForThe2.com. This is my Week 13 preview of the #1 Notre Dame Fighting Irish traveling to the Coliseum to take on the USC Trojans and head coach Lane Kiffin. Before I get into the preview, I just want to say it is Thanksgiving week, so there's games up on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I put all my predictions for this week's matchups up on the website, GoForThe2.com. All the predictions are up under the NCAA pick section. Just check that out. They're written up there. The weekend predictions. I made a weekend prediction video. That's up on YouTube and the website under the podcast section. So you could check that out at GoForThe2.com. Let's get right into this preview right now. We know Matt Barkley's out of this ball game for USC, so I'm really not going to give a prediction about this game. I know Notre Dame, in my estimation, is clearly the more dominant team. I think with or without Matt Barkley playing, Notre Dame would win this game no matter what because they're the more disciplined and they're the team that plays within their system. I think Notre Dame is no doubt the #1 team in the country when you look at their body of work. Head coach Brian Kelly and his staff has done a great job in terms of motivating, focusing, and keeping the team in its game plan week in and week out, and that all credit has to be given to head coach Brian Kelly for motivating his team and keeping them within the system. This is the first time Notre Dame is ranked in the top spot since 1993. 19 long years Notre Dame fans have waited for this time, and you know what? You deserve to be the #1 team in the country for what you've done this year and for the teams that you've beaten on the road and at home. And this is the last game that's standing in the way of your BCS National Championship game. So we'll see how it progresses. But in my estimation, Notre Dame is the dominant team in this ball game because of the running game and its defense, the way they've performed on the road and at home. Notre Dame is the dominant team, I think, with or without Matt Barkley. When you look at USC, it's all has to fall on Lane Kiffin. I said at the start of the season in week #2 that I believe that they were headed for mediocrity, that he was overrated as a head coach. He's proving me right. Lane Kiffin's 25-11 in his career at USC. He started his first year 8-5. The following year he was 10-2, and now this year he's 7-4. But you have to remember, this is a team that was picked at the start of the season to be in the national championship game. He returned Matt Barkley and 2 legitimate top 10 wide receivers in Marquise Lee and Robert Woods, but it's been the defense as well that has shown its true colors. The defense and turnovers have been the main reason why USC has lost 4 ball games on the season. That's a clear sign of a coaching problem at USC. In 4 losses to Arizona, Stanford, Oregon, and UCLA, the USC Trojans in 4 games, 4 losses, have turned the ball over 14 times in those games. That clearly is a coaching problem when you look at it, that ball security is the #1 thing that you teach and predicate in terms of coaching, and Lane Kiffin and his staff have done a terrible job. When you look at the defense, they fail to tackle, they fail to be physical, yet they have top 10 talent on that side of the ball. Assistant head coach and his father, Monty Kiffin, with the Tampa 2, hasn't really come through. Ed Ogeron, who was the former Ole Miss coach, has done a poor job in stressing defensive fundamentals. They're giving up 150 yards rushing per game, USC, and going up against the #1 team in the country in Notre Dame, averaging 200.7 yards per game rushing. That's the difference in this ball game. The physicality from the offense and defensive side of the ball of Notre Dame is what's the difference. When you look at USC's 7 victories, their combined record of those 7 opponents that they defeated are 28-49. That's 21 games under 500. The USC opponents' records in their 7 victories. So you have to keep an eye out. How good was USC really? They lost 4 games. They turned the ball over in those 4 games 14 times. And in their 7 victories, their combined opponents' record are 21 games under 500. So you have to keep an eye out. How good was USC really at the start of the season, and how good are they now? I think Lane Kiffin's on his way out. I think he's overrated, not only as a head coach, but as an assistant coach. He got more credit than credit was due under Pete Carroll. You remember he shared the duties with head coach of Washington, Steve Sarkisian. Steve Sarkisian's proving his worth as a head coach. He doesn't clearly have as much talent as Lane Kiffin does at USC, and Steve Sarkisian has his team prepared week in and week out, and they're on the upswing while USC is on the downswing in my estimation. And clearly, if they lose this game to Notre Dame, a 7-5 record for USC is unacceptable. Assistant athletic director Pat Hayden has given his confidence for Lane Kiffin, but I think he needs to get out of there. He's overrated, and all he does is create turmoil wherever he goes, whether it be at Tennessee, whether it be at the Los Angeles Raiders. Lane Kiffin, in my estimation, is a problem and needs to be ousted if you want to see USC get back to respectability. Let's talk about Notre Dame right now. Notre Dame is the number 1 team in the country. Statistically on defense, they have an SEC caliber defense, a front 7. I think they've proved that. They're only giving up 10.1 points per game, and it's been that offensive line opening up holes for Theo Riddick, George Atkinson III, and Sierra Wood, which has taken the pressure off of Ever Golson and the passing game. That has been by Notre Dame being able to run the football and play ball control has opened up the play-action passing game, and that works into Notre Dame's strengths. I think when you look at this ball game, all signs point to a Notre Dame victory. The fact that Max Wittick is a freshman, the fact that he's making his first career start, even though it's at home against a top-ranked defense, a physical defense, is going to be a very difficult task, and I think Notre Dame gets the victory in a dominating fashion. They put the end of the season to USC, and they move on to the national championship game, where they will face either Alabama, Georgia, or an outside possibility of Florida at this point. I think Notre Dame will be in the national championship game after Saturday night. I think the Notre Dame Fighting Irish pick up a dominating victory against USC. If you want to look at USC and say, is there any shred that USC can move the ball? They can. They have a very good offense in terms of playmakers, Marquise Lee and Robert Woods, and the unknown of Wittick and the lack of film for Notre Dame. But it's the physicality on the defensive side of the football, that defensive line that has gone up against opponents week in and week out and forced offenses out of their game plan, which is the difference. Stephen Tuitt, Mane Te'o, they've been all over the place in terms of creating pressure, and that's the difference. That's what's taken the pressure off of the Notre Dame secondary. So when you look at this ball game, it's 2 teams clearly going in different directions. USC on the downswing, Notre Dame on the upswing, and all eyes have to be on Lane Kiffin if you're a Trojan fan. Blame it on the head coach. You have nobody else to blame it on but Lane Kiffin. Look for Notre Dame to be in the national championship game. Notre Dame and Brian Kelly move to 12-0. It's a great week if you're a Notre Dame fan. Enjoy it. You deserve it. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and stay with us at GoForThe2.com.